Salutations, Celestial Sightseers. I'm David Fuller from Eyes on the Sky. This particular video tutorial, I'm going to show how to set up the angular measuring tool in Stellarium, because that's a really great way to be able to know how far two objects are from each other, which can be difficult to do if you don't have any way to actually measure that. Of course, you can use the azimuthal grid and zoom in on things, or you could use the equatorial grid and zoom on those things, but those very often don't line up exactly with the objects that you want to look at. So to do the angular measuring tool, which you can actually see the icon for it right here, you do need to add that. What you're going to want to do is go into the configuration window, and over on this right hand plugins tab, you're going to go to the angle measure right here. And as you can see, I've already got it loaded, but you're going to click on that load at startup. And then you'll have to actually close Stellarium and then reopen it, and then that tool will show up. Now there's a configure button over here. You can add a couple other things if you want to display with a position angle for things like measuring double stars and things like that, or show horizontal coordinates. There's some other things. I don't ever use any of those, but you may want to just know that those are options that are available. So when you have that particular angular measure tool there and available, what you can do is you just use your left click on your mouse like this, and you slide it over to the object that you want to measure to, and then it measures it. And you think, well, that's probably it, right? Well, there's actually some other cool things about this that you can do. For example, that may be where you want to measure from Vega to Deneb, but what if you say, well, I want to know what Vega is to Altair? Well, you don't actually have to measure it again. You can just hover over Altair and then right click with your mouse, and then it automatically measures from there to wherever you want to go. If you say, oh, I want to measure over here now, you can right click with your mouse button, and then to get rid of it, you just left click, and then that gets rid of everything. Now here's the important part to remember, is that if you want to move around now, you're going to wind up doing this and you won't be able to actually move, so you do need to turn it off. Now I have the this particular bar of icons all set up so it's locked in place, so you would have to go back over here and turn this off. Another way to do that though is you can hit Control and A on your keyboard, and then it goes away. You can also add it back in by hitting Control A and do it that way, so you don't actually have to keep going back over and using your mouse to be able to do that. Now, one other thing that I want to show you, because as you start to zoom in on certain objects, it's going to get more difficult sometimes to use the measuring tool just because of how the objects look. So I'm going to show you what you can do to make it easier for you to measure certain objects. So for example, we can go to the double star Epsilon Lyrae up by Vega. Now one thing I would do is you definitely want to center this, otherwise it's hard to zoom in. So one way you can center is just hit your spacebar on your keyboard, and then you can zoom in and it'll stay centered like that. And now you can say, okay, so we do a Control A, we add our ability to do that. Now you can see how that makes it hard to see. So sometimes I'll go from the opposite direction. I go, all right, well that didn't work. Let's just go this way. Now I can see what my measuring is for the difference on that. So you're looking at 3 minutes and 26 seconds of angular distance, but this is the double, right? So if we take this off and we zoom in more, well, I can't really see those two stars very well. I mean, look at how blobby those are. That's as far as I can zoom, and we can't see really where the center is. So watch what we can do to make this simpler. If you go over here to the sky and viewing options window, you see how there's an absolute scale and a relative scale. You take relative scale and just bring that way down like that. Now you can actually see stars that are much easier to use size-wise, and now you can measure that and see, again, I'm right on top of my words there, so I can actually go from this direction and measure that at like about 1.7 seconds of arc in angular distance, and then that's how we can measure that. Do remember though that when you back out, so if we take off our measuring tool, and zoom out like this, you can see how all the stars look really small. So you may need to go back in and bring your relative scale back up so that things kind of look a little bit more normal. But That's a minor consideration, but something to keep in mind when you're using the angular measuring tool in Stellarium. And if you like this video, I hope you'll check out my other videos on how to find really great deep sky objects and other things in the night sky. I make regular videos on my Eyes on the Sky channel right here on YouTube, or you can go to eyesonthesky.com. Thanks for watching.